class is now open. All right, let's get this dripper installed here. And is there a rhyme and reason of exactly where I'm gonna poke this? Because you remember, I'm gonna install a 1/4-inch tubing off of here. I've got a little coupling for that, and I'm gonna install it into here. How am I gonna do that? Let's get these bubblers out of the way. I'll talk about that in a minute. If I didn't have this tool right here, I couldn't do my project. This dimples and cuts a little hole in there so that I can put this in. And they have these at the hardware store, you know, for the drip irrigation. And sometimes you can get this with some little caps, plugs, and you buy it as a set. Or you can just buy this separately. It's $4 or $5. Okay, I just happen to have a little piece. And look at that. It's the right length that I need. I might cut that off a little bit. We'll do that in a minute. Okay. So I don't want to put it on the top in case somebody wants to step on it later. Perfect thing for me is on the side here. And I'll put it close to the big root in case somebody happens to step their foot over here. I don't think they will. I'm not really too concerned about it. So I'm going to lift this up, and I'm just going to hang on to this and push this in all the way. Just wiggle it a little bit. And sometimes on new pipes, you'll hear it snap. Like click, and you know you've got it in there far enough. I've got it. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to put that in. But before I do that, oh man, I need my pliers. Sometimes brand new pipe, and if you're doing it in the summer, you should be able to do all this without using your pliers or anything. Now I could just take my pliers and poke that in right now, but before I do that, I like to just put the end on first. And you just twist it on there, back and forth, make sure it's on all the way. Now, I could push this in, but this stuff is this pipe here is 24 years old, and it's been out in the sun and the cold. It should be covered up, so when I put the bark back in, I'll put it over that. I'm gonna hang on to that and use my pliers to get it in there. Okay. And like I say, sometimes you'll hear it snap. There it goes. See, you got to play with it a little bit until you hear it or feel it snap. Because if you don't snap it in there, you might think you have it in there, but you don't. Okay. So now, simply put the bubbler on there. And like I say, I'm going to make the determination. I'm going to cut this off a little shorter. I'm going to put the bubbler right about there. Okay? I'm just going to do that. And that was an extra little piece I had. Don't throw away your little ones. Now, I told you I'd do a 2-gallon bubbler. I want to tell you, when you open your containers, make sure you open them so you can still read what they say. I've got some bubblers here. I just ripped the thing off. The bubblers here ripped the thing off. I'm pretty sure these are 1 gallon per hour, because this one I ripped off just the side. That's 1 gallon per hour. GPH is gallons per hour. Pressure compensating drippers. And I look at these, and these are all black. These are all black. And the 2 gallon I got at the same store. These are green, and that's 2 gallon per hour. And they have some red ones, and those were 1/2 gallon per hour. But different stores, their colors might be different. Okay, so before I open this, I'm gonna make sure I don't rip off the 2 gallon per hour in case I need to remember that. Okay. So now I'm simply, once I get the bag open, I'm going to just put one of these on there. And this is a 10 pack, and it's kind of how they come. You buy them like that. Okay, now I'm going to leave all those in there. I'm going to take that's got that little end on it, and I'm going to just twist it on there. Make sure I get it all the way on there. That. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. And then when I do the bark back in here, I'm going to lift this. I'm going to cover this up with bark to about here. I'm going to let this end pooch up above the bark, and it's just going to be right up in here. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. But before I do that, if you want to check all your work, you can turn the system back on. That's what I'm going to do. I fixed this thing over here. I've added this, and I might look at a couple other things that I've done some repairs on too. So I'll be right back with the water on. Okay, I've turned the water back on. Let's take a look at this together. I have not seen the end of this yet. Let's see how much a 2-gallon dripper puts out. Okay, that's a 2-gallon per hour dripper right there. And that's going to be plenty, right like that. Okay, that's a more stout flow than I thought. With a 1 gallon, that's a 2-gallon. Okay, that'll be plenty for this tree. Okay, and our fitting looks fine here. Nothing. Oh, it looks like it's just barely. I say barely dripping out of there, because it's an older line, and see here, this one is in fact working. That's from another one. I'm not gonna look at that. Now let's look at. I wanted to look at these fittings down here, how they attached it before, and see it's still dripping out of that knot. And this one, you can see the end is kind of wet, and that's okay. And let's just take a look at the end of this and see how well this is holding. It's just barely, I mean barely dripping, but that's how lots of landscapers do the ends of their pipes, and I don't really care about that, because it's up here by the tree. And see these fittings, this one's a little wet, this one's a little wet, and that's just how they are years later down the road. It's not, you know, if you're careful with these when you're digging them up, you don't snap them off, they should be fine. I don't really care if there's a little dripping there. You see what I mean? And now I can cover all this stuff up and make a mental note of where these extra lines are. And I'm glad I put this extra piece on there. Now, like I said, I could have put that bubbler just right there. And lots of times I see landscapers do that around trees. They might have boom, boom. Put 2-gallon drippers or 1-gallon drippers. Boom, boom, boom. And they can put 3 if they want, or 3 gallons. You see what I mean? I mean, landscapers do all kinds of stuff. And you are the landscaper now. You make your own repairs. You decide how you want to do it all. Now, I made some repairs over here from before. This one's not dripping now. This one's not dripping. That's not dripping. This water was from where it was leaking from before, and the ground was so saturated that anything in there just weeped down. That's why there's water down in there. And I wasn't sure. I kind of thought this was a 2-gallon bubbler. I wasn't sure if that's how much water a 2-gallon bubbler should go. And sure enough, that's about how much water that other one is going that I just put in. So I've got to decide what to do with this one because it's just right out in the middle of no man's land. And I could either put a plug in it, because I have some little 1/4-inch plugs. I could pull this off and put a plug right there, cut it off, and then put this underneath the ground, or I can see where that goes, see if I can reroute this up underneath the bush. If I wanted, I could look at this rose bush here to see if it's got water, and I see there's a little dripper here. See, that's giving that water, and there's probably one under here. My thinking is this particular one right here was probably going to a plant here that died off. So I think I'd be safe to put a cap on there, and I could do that. You can dig up all your stuff if you want. If you've never done this before, you can look at all your plants, you can look at all your bubblers and check out where your bubblers are going, which ones are working, which ones are not working, which plants have them, which plants don't have them, which ones need to be relocated, which ones need to be plugged, capped, repaired. And trust me, every single drip irrigation system I've ever looked at, I haven't looked at that many, but every single one, I've always found something that needed to be done. Now see this one here? Here's a flag dripper. That's what they used to have years ago. Rather than the bubblers, it's a flag. And it's just going out here to nothing. And there was probably something here. Probably if I were to turn that, these flags are designed to be turned. And should I even try to turn it for fear something's going to happen to it? You should be able to turn it, and you should be able to get it off. Now see, nothing's really happening because it's so old. That part's probably not working. So I could take that, cut that off, and put a plug right there. If I knew that this plant didn't need any water, that plant didn't need any water. Here's one that's been snapped off from before that somebody replaced, and this end is broken off. Okay, that's a throwaway. That was years ago when they used to use 1/8 inch or 3/16 tubing. Nowadays they use the 1/4 inch tubing. Okay, and so I'm going to throw that one off. See, here's a bubbler. Remember I was saying sometimes they'll put a bubbler right on the end without a tube? Well, here's one right here. See there? That's a 2-gallon bubbler, and it's going to nothing because here, this one's going up to the backside of this big, huge redwood tree, and that's a 2-gallon bubbler. See there? That's a 2-gallon bubbler, and that's coming off of that line over there. And there's probably another bubbler somewhere, and maybe, I mean, that's close enough to that. If there was no other water to this tree, I would leave that. But if there's another line to there, see here? Now they've ran a little extension piece off of it with the 2-gallon bubbler. So there's one for the downhill side of that tree. There's one on the uphill side, and this one is going to nothing. So I could leave that, boom, 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 for that big tree, or I could pop that out and put a plug there if I wanted. All kinds of different things you can do with your drip irrigation. You just need to start looking around. Here I noticed this other pipe in the landscapers. Funny, they put this thing in there. See that? Oh, how cute. They didn't have to do that. That thing costs probably 2 or 3 times more than one little bubbler. They could have got by with just a 1-gallon dripper, same type that I put in the 2-gallon, except it's a 1-gallon. But they probably didn't have one with them. They thought, let's just put that in there. That makes no sense to me, needing to do that. So I could, if I wanted, if I had a flower pot or something that I needed something like that, I could take that one out and I could put a 1-gallon bubbler there, and I can save that for something else, right? Let's see, all different types of things. You only know enough if you start looking around at your drip irrigation pipes. Okay, for now I'm going to decide to leave that alone, I think. But see, if you're on a water meter and you're paying so much per gallon of water, or if you're on a well water, why waste water? I'm calling these, this one's kind of wasteful, that one's kind of wasteful. The water just turned off too. When I put it in test mode, it's good for 10 minutes, but anyways, that's wasting water, that's wasting water. And when it's going to nothing, if you have too many of those on your system and they're not going to anything, then you get a little bit less water pressure down the line, so to speak. If I were to cap these off, maybe the other ones work better, or maybe I'm still saving a little bit of water, even though there's still water going to the entire system, you know what I mean? So all in all, I like to double check. I like to double check everything. I know I should fix that one over there. And you see this? I'm just noticing this. There's water. There's all kinds of water right here. And maybe I should turn the system back on. I'm seeing there's one dripper here, and there's something else coming over here. But this could be another water leak, you know, down below the ground, because it shouldn't be this saturated with only having the water on for a few minutes. So that's something I could look at and see. That water, I can tell it goes on over to there. This is all waterlogged. Okay, so you can just see stuff like that. And like I say, the drip irrigation pipe should be covered. And sometimes they put it right on the top edge and then they cover it with bark. But I like to dig it under, 3 or 4 inches, and then do the bark. Now see over here, this is really saturated. So what does that tell me? That tells me in this one little area right here, there's another area underneath there that's broken. Okay, that's just spewing water, kind of like these other repairs that I've done. Okay, but I've done enough for today. I feel pretty good with all the different things I've done. Over in here, I've got this main one fixed. Oh, I'm gonna still cap this one off, but I'm glad I dug that out and got that fixed. I found out the leak there. I found out the leak there. Got that fixed. Put a new bubbler there. Capped that one off. Cap that off, and I'm gonna cap off another one. So, see, all kinds of stuff you can do on your own. All the time that I'm spending out here, that I'm working, I'm saving money. Okay, if I spend 5 hours out here, and if somebody charges $50 an hour, that's $250. I just saved my mother. I just saved myself if this was my property. You know what I mean? And so that's how you got to just start looking at things. The more things you save, the more money you make, per se. And then you've got a little bit of extra money to start buying some tools, some parts, and stuff like that. These tools I can use again and again and again and again. So I'm investing in myself. And every time I do something on my own to save money. Don't pay someone else when you can do it yourself. All right?